Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Homewrecker podcast. I am the Golden Greek Alex Arion, joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous wife, Monique. Monique, how are you?
Hiya, I am good. How are you?
I am fantastic as always.
Yeah, you are.
Well, thank you so much. Why don't we get our plugs and everything out of the way first, and then we're going to get right into our show.
All right. So for us, you can find us on homewreckerpodcast.com. If you like what you hear, you want to show your support, go to Buy Me a Coffee. Look for Homewrecker Podcast. We have other like bonus episodes and clips and all those fun different things. And some are free, some are a small donation. If you want to throw any money our way because you like what you hear and you want to support the show, you can do that. If you are interested, we're coming to holiday season. So if you're interested in any organite, you're looking for a different, unique, one-of-a-kind gift, go to tarotbymonique.com. I even have some holiday winter-themed organite available. I also make candles. I have crystals and incense. So there's something for everyone. Just see what really resonates with you and place an order. And if you're interested in hypnotherapy, go to understandingshypnosis.com, schedule a free 20-minute consult, or you can try a digital download and you can do it as much as you'd like, all for a low cost.
Boom, there you have it. So this week, we are going to be talking to
Miss Molly Knows.
That's right.
Yes.
And we had a really, really great conversation, and we hope you enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get to the interview.
Here we are with an amazing guest today, Miss Molly from Miss Molly Knows. Molly, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you today?
I am wonderful. Thank you. I'm very excited to have you on the show because I have heard you on other podcasts, including my friends, talking about you and having you as a guest. We're friends with Jennifer Holtz and
Yes.
Leslie Fear and Karen Rontowski. We kind of have our group together, but you and
Yes.
I never really touched bases or spoke before until Jen recommended I reach out to you when I lost my chicken.
I know. That was an unfortunate reason to have to reach out, but I'm glad that you did.
I am
And thank you for
too.
having me, by the way. I'm very excited.
Thank you so much for being here. And
Yeah.
I want to tell the listeners a little bit of how I started speaking with you. As I mentioned, our friend Jennifer Holtz told me to reach out to you because we lost one of our newer chickens. She's 7 months and they get really curious and will wander. And we thought we heard her. And I reached out to you, and where you were saying she was the direction we heard her.
Mm-hmm.
And everything you said like nailed the locations, but every time I went out, I couldn't find her. So I don't know if it's because she's a moving being.
Probably.
So
Yes.
yeah, and they're not quite trained to my call yet, which made it
Right.
hard. But you were like spot on, like the neighbor's house and the truck, and that was the direction. You were so spot on, and you were
Wow.
you were actually known as a finder of lost items.
Yes, I am.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. It's one of those things I kind of stumbled upon. I do a lot of live streams, especially on TikTok. That seems to be my biggest following. And we always try experimental things sometimes during my lives. You know, someone will say, "Can you do this?" And sometimes I'll say, "Sure, I'll try it." And one night we were talking about, I don't know, how we use energy to connect. And somebody out of the blue said, "I'm missing my cat. Do you think you can find my cat?" And I said, "I don't know. I'll see what I can do." And I'd had some experience with playing around a little bit with remote viewing in the past, but not a lot. I mean, not enough that I could consider myself an expert by any means. But I thought, well, maybe if I focus on it, I'll get some kind of something. And so, sure enough, I gave her a description of something, and she went and looked. And a couple of days later, comes back to me privately and says, "I found my cat exactly where you said." I described, I think, a stairway with peeling green paint and a couple other things that I saw around. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So the next live, I think I talked about it, and all these people said, "Well, I'm missing this and I'm missing that." And I said, "Well, let's play with it, and because I was open to trying it, it just turned out that I actually had a talent for it. I didn't realize. And next thing I knew, kind of became a thing. And started calling myself Finder of Lost Items, or Foley, is the hashtag FOLI. And it's just kind of become a thing now. I really had no idea I could do that until, especially since I lose all my own stuff all the time.
So when you lose your own stuff now, are you able to find it? Can you do it for yourself? Does it work that way?
It does now, yeah. As a matter of fact, my husband teases me because I lose things all the time, and then he'll say, "Oh, I can't find something," and he'll go, "Fully." And okay, and he's right; it does work. And so it is a combination of remote viewing, psychic ability, and also I would say mediumship in some cases. And I call it reverse psychometry in a way. Not in the case of a chicken or a pet of some sort,
Mm-hmm.
but it's sort of like in psychometry. That's when you have an item in your hand, and then you give an impression. Of the what you pick up from that item, like whether it be a vision or a sound or a thought or whatever it might be. This is the opposite. I have information about the item, and a biography of the item, and I'm actually finding the item through that, almost like the item is becoming my GPS, and I'm going to where that is, and I'm telling you what I see and feel around that item. So when I did your chicken, Kelly, I focused on your name, and I'd never talked to you before, so I didn't know who you were,
Mm-hmm.
and I purposely did not look at your profile or anything like that, because you said it was you were a friend of Jennifer's. That's all I needed to know. And I thought, okay. And I got your name, and you told me the name of the chicken, and you described it, and I looked up a picture so I know what the chicken looks like and visualized, and then I just relax. And as I did, it's sort of like if somebody were changing channels very quickly. I see different images and I try to grab them really quick before I forgot that I saw them. And I saw this sort of darkened, sort of looking countryish area with a fence. And I saw this big truck near this house. And I don't remember what else I told you, but anyways,
Yeah, the
that's what I
house, the
saw.
truck, and everything, and it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah. Oh, and I think I said something about some wind chimes or something. I don't
mm-hmm.
remember now, because usually when I do it, I'm in that zone.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't know, when I tell people what I see, I have no information usually about them, and it's better that way, because then I don't have to use discernment. I know it's not me just imagining; it's coming from somewhere. So yeah.
That's awesome. I
That's
know.
awesome.
Yeah. Like for me, when I read tarot, the less I know, the better. Because
Yes.
I
Yes.
feel like,
Absolutely.
yeah, because I feel like sometimes your mind starts trying to tell you things instead of just
Yeah.
going with the information that you're getting. So
Yeah. Exactly.
that makes a lot of
That's
sense.
totally. Yeah.
So this was a recent thing that you've discovered, that you had this
Yeah.
ability.
About a
That's
year ago.
crazy.
Yeah,
Wow.
about a year ago. And I don't remember. Yeah, it was just about a year ago, because I think we were just got on this boat, and we've been on the boat for about a year. So yeah, it was probably about a year ago. But it's become a thing for sure.
That is incredible. Wow.
It is. It is. It blows my mind.
And what
It's
did
hard.
now living on a boat? How did you come about living on a boat? Because that's very fascinating.
Yes, and the boat is called the Mediumship, by the way.
That's an
That's
amazing
awesome.
name.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, I met my husband about 2 years ago at literally walking down the beach, and that story is a whole nother one. But anyways, when we met, we were talking about wanting to adventure, and he says something like, "Well, I'm sure this probably wouldn't appeal to you, but I've always wanted to live on a boat, and that's my plan." And I grew up sailing little boats when I was a kid and loving sailing. And I said, "Are you kidding? I love sailing." And I don't know if he totally believed me until we actually went out on a boat one day and he saw how comfortable I was. And then he was like, "Oh, she does love sailing." And so it was kind of like we manifested it. We just set our minds on what we knew we wanted to do. And next thing we know, we're living on a boat. And,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
and we love it. We love it. I mean, it's definitely an adjustment, but wow, we have a great life. I mean, it's amazing. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
What is the
yeah, we love
hardest
it.
thing about living on a boat?
It's just not very convenient a lot of the time. I mean, we are actually not on a dock like people might imagine. We're on what they call a mooring ball, which means it's sort of like a permanent anchor that the marina owns out in the water.
Ah.
So I mean, we can see land from our boat, but we're not next to land. We're like a quarter of a mile away. So we all have little dinghies, which are sort of like our personal taxis or golf carts, you could say. And we have to, we need water, or we need to go get groceries or trash, or we need to take the dog somewhere, whatever. We have to get on our little dinghy and go to shore to do those things. We have a car on shore. So it's not super convenient, but at the same point, it's very private, it's very quiet, it's lovely. We wake up to a sunrise on the ocean and dolphins jumping up and down and sea turtles and you name it. And it's kind of like camping a little bit in some ways, but we really love it. I mean, it's a very nice lifestyle, and we love where we live. We have really nice people around us, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's like being on vacation all the time.
I was gonna say that's what it sounds like
Yeah.
you're on
It is.
vacation all the time. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a tank top and shorts right now. I mean, the sun's out. I'm looking out my porthole at this blue sky. You
That's
know,
awesome.
yeah, it's fabulous.
So now I
Yeah.
have to ask, has anything eerie, I mean, you're a psychic, you're a medium. Has there ever been anything out on the water that, like, anything ghostly, paranormal, or anything that just kind of creeped you out?
Not so far. I keep hoping. It's happened on shore, on land. I don't know even know it. That was something I was asked on another interview. Was like, is there a difference between like how it is when you're on the boat and when you're on shore? Because we had a house in Kentucky, and honestly, there is a difference. I find that when I'm on land, there's a lot more. I get a lot of paranormal activity. On the boat, so far, nothing. Believe it or not. Psychic, sure. I've had more predictions when I'm on the boat for some reason, and I've had more. My readings seem to be even more. Compelling, I'll say. But no, I haven't seen anything yet, but we haven't really gone anywhere yet. And I'm sure once we get out in the Caribbean or we're
Mhm.
sailing around, I'm sure we're going to see some things. I'm sure I will. Now, I will say when we're on shore and I've walked around once or twice, I've seen spirits here and there, but
Mhm.
that's not unusual for me.
Yeah.
That's not unusual for me. But no, nothing exciting on the boat so far, as far as that's concerned. No,
And I think there's something about water that is a really good conductor because if
indeed.
I
Hmm.
meditate and I'm in the bath or the shower, it
Yep.
feels so much more powerful. And
Oh,
I
absolutely.
I love
Yeah.
water.
Me
So,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's something about it. It just I feel like it
Yeah.
amplifies and helps everything flow better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, one of these days, I'm sure I would love to do like a psychic cruise, on our boat or something. Invite people and do like a dinner. And I don't know about a séance per se, maybe, but it's something where we could do like an evening of spiritual activities on the boat. I think would be really, really neat
That does
one
sound
day.
really fun.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Of course, I'm like, just going on a boat is fun.
Yeah, if you can handle a boat, sure. A lot of people can't. I think the last podcast I did, she actually used Zoom, and she said she felt seasick after
Oh,
Oh.
really?
a while. Yeah, it was too much for her. She's like, even just watching you, I don't. Her husband's like, oh, it's in her brain, and she's like, no, I swear, I couldn't watch her.
I feel
So,
very lucky because growing up, my dad was in the Navy and
oh,
he always wanted a boat. So he got a boat
hmm,
and we go on the river and then we go on the ocean and then we got a boat
right?
on a lake up here in New Hampshire. So I got to grow
Nice.
up like on a boat and we would go on
Yeah,
cruises. And I
yeah.
remember like the boat would rock side to side and I loved it.
I
And
love it.
other
Yeah.
people would be getting sick and I'm just like, what's wrong with you? Like,
No,
this
I
is
think it's
great.
wonderful. I get the
Yes.
best sleep on a boat than
Yeah.
anywhere else. I love sleeping on the boat for sure. Even you get used to the noises and the slaps because ours is a catamaran, so the
Mhm.
waves hit the bottom a lot and hit.
Yeah.
We can hear it. It's pretty loud, but we're used to it. So yeah, but no, it is more conductive. You are correct. I believe. I do find that it is a lot easier to do my work on the boat. As far as when I'm doing mediumship and those sorts of things, it does come through a lot better, for sure.
I was gonna say I think probably something to it being a little more clear where you are as well is because you're not close to land, and like on land now we're bombarded with electricity, with
Yes.
RF
Yes.
signals everywhere, cell towers, and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure that's gotta
Yep.
definitely
Yeah,
dampen the ability or affect it in some way.
that would make a lot of sense because that yeah, there's a lot of interference too, and you're right. That probably is partial because it seems like when I'm in a more rural place, it does seem that I get a better signal too. As far as signal, my signal, not on my
Yeah,
phone
yeah,
and things, but signal for me is better where quieter, which just makes sense. I mean, you got to sort those energies out.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
And have you ever noticed a certain place or a certain like area or being around something that ever dampened your psychicness, that ever made you feel like I'm getting nothing, it's blocking me?
Actually, most of the time it's when I'm going through something myself,
Mm.
my personal life. If I'm having personal issues, I'm upset or depressed or something's going on that's really hard to deal with at the time, or I'm angry or anything like that, any strong emotion that's not positive
Mm-hmm.
is generally not a great time for me to do anything. I can't focus. And, and then my energy is crummy. And then I start picking up crummy information that people really don't want to know. I always
Yeah.
try to be as positive and supportive as I can in my readings. Not to say if there's something I need to tell somebody, I would, but generally I don't ask for those things. I don't want to say to somebody, oh, by the way, you're going to get some bad news in 10 days.
Yeah.
That's not really super helpful to people. It's better for me to get a message more like, hey, you might want to call your grandma this week. She's thinking about you. That's a
Yeah.
better message than in 10 days, you might lose your grandma. Like those are things
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I don't find responsible to tell people things like that. So I don't invite negative energy. And so I think when I'm in a negative place, that's just the protective way of me. I'm not able to do my work.
And that
So if I disappear for a while, sometimes that's why I'm just like, I need a break. I need to, resuscitate myself.
makes
So,
sense. Yeah. And
mhm.
speaking of, not really making yourself available. So I started following you on TikTok, which I'm newer to.
Mhm.
And oh my gosh, like it's hard for me to do like one video. And you just crank them out. What is your secret?
I think, and it's funny because I always feel like I'm not doing enough sometimes. But I think it's just habitual now for me to get up in the morning, and I've come up with ways to use some of my live streams to make content. I always have the camera. My husband's really good at reminding me, like, hey, this is a great thing to put on. Like sometimes this has zero to do with what I do. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's, an iguana walking around in our parking lot. But whatever it is, if I find it interesting, I figure it's probably interesting to somebody. And it's just being authentic and having fun and just keeping a lot of stuff. I'll film like 4 or 5 things in one day, not film for 10 days. But, with the beauty of the technology we have, it looks like I just did it. And
Yeah.
sometimes I do recycle content that's older that people haven't seen in a long time,
Yeah.
because some of this content I made when I had 100 followers or, 10,000 followers. I like to call them knowers. I hate that word follower. It sounds like a cult.
I know.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
viewers, whatever. But now I'm up to like, I don't know, I'm like at 32, 33, somewhere like 33,000 or something. A lot of those people have never seen some of my really good stuff. So a lot of times I'll recycle or update. But generally it's just, just keeping little things on hand to post. But a lot of times it's just taking sections of my lives. And then, as you know, I always ask for testimonials from people that I
Hmm.
help. And they make the videos. I just repost them
Which
usually
is,
or reformat.
and that's fabulous because I mean, even as I said for us, while we didn't find our chicken, you nailed the location of where we
Mm-hmm.
heard her from. And for us, at least, like we knew we weren't going crazy because I thought, are we
Right.
just kind of psychosomatically creating that sound in our mind, even though
Right.
4 of us heard it? Because
Right.
you want to question to make sure, are we being logical? Are we being reasonable with this?
Right.
So
Right. You have to use discernment. Yeah.
yeah, but so it did help us a lot.
Oh,
And
good.
I think that even now, still in this day and age, anything regarding like psychic, tarot readings, mediumship, it's still very considered woo woo. And
Right.
a lot of people, I am a skeptical person. Alex
So
is a
am I.
skeptical person. Yes. And I feel like most really are skeptical because the good people never want anyone to feel taken advantage of. So you always
Exactly.
have to be like top bar in terms of what you're doing.
Right.
And I feel like when you do share, what you do with everyone, and then you have other people saying, not only were you right, but you helped me. That
Right.
is huge because it's not you saying, I did this. It's other people saying, she did
Well,
this.
and then the beauty of when I do the finder of lost items, for example, is not only do I get to help people and know that I helped them, like there's tangible evidence I've helped and proof, so to speak, but it also helps connect to people. When
Yeah.
people realize, when someone from Australia asks me to find their keys to their Jeep, and I'm here in, Florida, and I tell them exactly where it is and they find it, it shows you that we aren't that far apart after all. And that shows that we are all connected in
Mm,
humanity, and that we need to realize everything we do affects other people.
absolutely. I agree
That is
100%.
a great message. That's
Hmm.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm
that's, we can help people more than we realize sometimes.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't
we
know if I
have it.
told you, I'm a hypnotherapist.
Yes, you
And
did. I love
yes,
that.
and that's right. I did tell you because you used to do hypnotherapy.
Oh, so long ago. Yeah, so long ago, like decades ago. That's how old I am.
And what you had just said coincides with something, an experience I had in hypnosis, where I literally saw how everybody is connected. And it was almost
Mm,
laid out like spider web, like these string kind of
yeah.
things, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody's connected. And it really
Yep.
changes your perspective because you realize, like, even though the world is so big and there's so many people in it,
Mm-hmm.
we are all connected and we're all a part of each other because we're all tethered to each other in a slight
Right.
way. So
Right.
I think about the way that you connect with people and
Mm-hmm.
how we all have those lines. And I think, this is something we're all connected to each other and we can tap
Correct.
into that. So
Right.
do you offer, I believe you offer mentorship, don't you?
I do. I haven't. I can't say I've done a ton of it, and generally it seems like when I mentor, it's more for people. I mostly get people that aren't necessarily trying to develop into doing stuff like I do,
Mm-hmm.
but more to understand what they already have, like whatever skill they might have. Often they just want more clarity and maybe some tips on how to handle it. They don't always want to necessarily go into it as a profession or even a
Yeah.
hobby. A lot of times it's more like I have questions, I don't know what to do about these things. But yes, I do offer mentorship, but only to people that I feel I can offer them something, because there's some things I'm certainly no expert in, and I don't feel that I'm qualified to mentor. And I don't have a structured mentorship program, and that's just how I am. It's more of a, we have a consultation conversation, and to see if I can even help. And if I say yes, then it's really up to you how much you want to talk to me. I'm more
Yeah.
of like a consultant, I'd say. Like, what is it you want to ask me? What kinds of things can I help you develop more or work on or understand? And that's kind of how I do it. I don't want to ever make somebody feel like they have to buy 100 sessions, or spend every penny they have just to be told, oh well, now you have to take this course. And
Mm-hmm.
not saying there's anything wrong with taking classes and all those things. Absolutely, any education that appeals to you, go for it. But part of this is trusting yourself too, and what
Yeah.
and being a little bit bold, and once in a while doing something that may be uncomfortable or unknown, and knowing that you're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And people have a notion that there's evil that can seep in, and you might open a portal and then you have no control. And that's really, I think if your intentions are good, that's the most important key to this whole thing. I really do.
I agree because I think if you go in there saying, this is what I want to do, I want to open this portal and I want this bad stuff, if you invite it in, yeah, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
obviously. But I think, like, for me, I always try to have that mindfulness of protection. Like, I am protected,
Hmm.
everything is for my highest good. and
Exactly.
and
Yep.
so with that, it's not to say like, oh, nothing bad can ever happen to me, but it's just being mindful of it. Like, I am protecting myself, this is my
Hmm.
intention I'm setting, and if
Hmm.
something doesn't work, it's because it wasn't meant to work.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. And I almost feel like the other part of being as positive as you are and as I am when I'm doing work is that if something negative starts to show up, I notice it. I mean, it's like somebody just cut the cheese. I notice it right
Yeah.
away. And I stop it. I'm just like, oh, no, 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 no. Don't
Yep.
think you're coming in here with that. Like, you didn't get invited to this party. Start. You can leave.
and
Bye.
And it's so funny because in hypnotherapy, I've had to tell clients and clients with attachments, like,
Hmm.
I can tell it to F off, but
Right.
you have to, it has to come from you. And it's about
Hmm.
letting people find that sovereignty and that strength within them to say, I don't want you here. I don't need you here. Bye, Felicia.
Hmm.
Like, get out. And
Right. It's a mindset for
it
sure. I mean,
is.
I think sometimes it's sort of like, and I can only bring this up because I've had experience, unfortunately, but it's like the abused woman
Mm,
in the past.
yep.
The abused woman who won't leave. The perception in her mind is, I can't leave.
Mm-hmm.
She could a lot of times, not every time, but like I can't take care of myself. I can't do this by myself. I'm nothing. I'm bad. Those sorts of ideas. They
Yeah.
believe it to the point where they don't do anything. So if you really believe evil's coming through, and you really believe something bad's going to happen, you're going to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Hmm.
again, it goes back to when you asked me, what stops me or keeps me from doing my work. And I told you, it's my emotions. Like when I'm in a bad place, that's why another reason, it
Mm-hmm.
just, you don't want to draw that stuff in. And if you believe, like if you are afraid of Ouija boards, for example, I bring that example up a lot. If you believe they're evil and they're bad and they're open portals, or when you were a kid, you played with one, something bad happened, don't touch them then, because you already believe that. Even though I think they're totally innocuous and there's nothing wrong with using them if that's something you want to use. I don't think they're super accurate, but people have beliefs about them
Yeah.
now. So I'm like, then don't do it.
And like
Mm-hmm.
I've used a Ouija board and I
Hmm.
think I let something in, but then you learn like, oh, well, don't be a dumbass about it. Like,
Right, exactly. No, I've had some negative experiences when I was a kid with one, and that's because we're kids. We're not responsible enough to understand what we're doing when we're playing
yeah,
with those things. We don't get it. So, but it's not dangerous per se. It's just like,
it's a tool.
a weapon. Yeah, a weapon is only dangerous in whose hands is it in? If
Exactly.
somebody's respectful of
Mm-hmm.
that weapon, they're not going to hurt somebody. So it's the same thing.
And
Yeah.
speaking of respectful, there's
Hmm.
something that like Alex and I have done paranormal investigations before,
Yeah.
and there's something where I've noticed there are people like on the shows where we see like I feel like it's almost disrespectful the way they treat the
They're
property.
antagonizing.
And
Yeah.
it's antagonizing. We always anytime we've gone somewhere, we're very respectful of the area, and we
Yep.
find out either we get nothing or if we do get something, it's more positive. But
Right.
have you ever like have been a part of something with other people where they were disrespectful and it
Yeah.
caused a negative issue from it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did about 2 or 3 years ago. I went on this, I think it was called Strange Adventures or Stranger Tours or something, through Amy Bruni, Adam Berry, Chip Coffey, that whole group of
Mm-hmm.
kindred spirits. They have these events you can go to, and they're there. And it was like a disco thing in Missouri at I want to say the Bellevue, it used to be an orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty haunted. And there's a graveyard, all kinds of cool stuff there. And, it's pretty exciting weekend. And John Tenney, a bunch of those folks, if you know anything about paranormal
Mm-hmm.
people. And so I went to that, and they had a nighttime tour, and they took you to different parts of the property at different times. Like they would cycle everybody through in groups. And, you went in with your, you had the equipment, whatever equipment you wanted to bring with you, whether it be dowsing rods or your spirit box or whatever, or you could buy a kit from them or whatever you wanted. And we walked around, and I took the approach that you said with my boyfriend at the time, and we were like, just respectful. Like we went into different rooms and things, and picked up here and there a little this and that. But there were people that were just being ridiculous. They were walking around yelling, "Hey ghost, hey ghost!" Like
Jeez.
just being stupid. And you got to remember, people are walking through there all night long, and I personally don't love that, because I feel like you said, these spirits, whether they be just a memory of a spirit or an energy or whatever. I mean, it just seems like a lot.
Yeah.
It's like walking through the garden over and over again until the flowers are trampled.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think when you do go to these things and your approach is more loving, like, I'm here if you have a message you like to convey to people, great. So on that tour, the thing that actually ended up really working, we weren't getting a whole lot until we played music. And there was a specific spirit that apparently likes Frank Sinatra, and we played a little on somebody's phone, and she moved something. We saw a little light thing move, and then we all started singing, and then the activity began.
Wow.
But
That's
that was
awesome.
positive. You've got a
Yeah.
room
Yeah.
for like 10, 15 people singing New York, New York, and the spirit was thrilled to feel that energy of us joining together again in that positive community
Yeah.
sort of way. So that was cool. But no, yeah, people get silly because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
They watch the TV shows where they're
Mm.
antagonizing and
Mm-hmm.
yelling, and
Come
that's,
at
you
me.
know,
It's like no.
Yeah, that
yeah, and I don't
antagonistic
like
stuff
that.
is so ridiculous. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
what?
and if I'm sorry, go
No, no,
on.
you go.
I was just going to say, and even if that works and they get a response, which they do sometimes, and sometimes it's fake, but a lot of times they will get a real response. If you look at like the team of the one that like Zach Bagans does
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and I'm not dissing Zach, I don't know the guy, but they all get sick. They all have a lot of physiological issues show up for them oftentimes,
Yeah.
off camera and sometimes on camera. And I would venture to say that is because of that negative energy they're throwing around. That's not good for anybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
I'm of the mindset
Yeah.
don't start nothing, won't be nothing. But what you were saying about the singing totally reminded me of Ghostbusters 2
Yeah.
with the pink
Oh yeah.
slime and how
Yeah.
like you can be like really it can make you really positive or really negative.
Uh-huh.
And it
Uh-huh.
just it again, it makes sense because when you think about positive energy and everyone coming together, again, we're all connected and everyone
Mm-hmm.
coming together doing something with positive energy. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can get those good things, which to me is
Mm-hmm.
obviously better than antagonizing energy and
Right.
trying to get like a negative rise, like a rise in a negative way for a reaction. So
Right.
it's like now I'm
So
like, I want to go like our next paranormal investigation. I want to try singing and playing music and see if that helps.
well, one of the things that another thing that happens sometimes on my lives, and it's been a while since this happened, but I used to get a lot of orbs, and I
Mm.
actually have one video where I swear it's a fairy. You can see it flying
I
around, and
saw that.
it's been verified by a team. I actually sent it to somebody I know who's a professional. Had his team look at it. And he goes, "There's no way you did that."
Yeah.
But anyways, I've had that happen quite a few times, and I started to look up orbs because I was like, I want to know more about this.
Hmm.
And as it turns out, there's people that take pictures of orbs, and the way that they do it is they'll go in groups out to the woods or out to the ocean or somewhere nice, and they'll have like a campfire, and everybody sits around and tells happy stories and sings, and has delicious food, and they have like this big like a festival kind of, but with these 10 or however many people, and they leave the cameras on, with the lens constantly taking photographs, and they don't always see them with their naked eye. But when they get these photographs and they look at the digital images, there is tons of orbs around them. And the more they're singing and dancing, the more it comes to the point where you can't even barely see the people that are dancing around. All you see is golden light around them. It's crazy.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
that to me was proof. I was like, wow, that shows you,
I don't know
how
why.
this works.
That just made me like my heart feels
That
so
just made me
happy.
so happy. Yeah, that what you saying
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's
look
yeah,
it
that's
up. You'd be
crazy.
surprised. Yeah.
Wow.
So I thought that was wonderful. I would love to go do something like that. Music is they don't give it enough credit, and I
No.
often wonder is that if that's why they've cut it out of a lot of the schools is to keep people from having their light, having their empowerment,
Yeah.
because the arts are important. That's how we create, that's how we express ourselves.
Hmm.
Agreed 100%. Like I go out, I sing to my chickens, I sing to the trees, and now I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
okay, I feel even better now that I do that cuz the
Yeah,
music. It's like
yeah.
it's okay, I'm definitely
Well,
going to keep doing that.
they've proven, plants grow better when they have
Oh
music, right?
yeah.
All those things. And it's funny because there's a segue for you into something else that I do sometimes is we have a game we play on my lives called musical mediumship.
Yes.
And that was one of those things where when I have a reading or something, I'll usually wake up morning with some random song in my head, and sure enough, usually when I do the reading, it'll show up again. I'll say, hey, does this song, I don't know why I'm hearing Sweet Caroline or whatever, and after I do the reading, they'll say, oh, that was my mother's favorite, we went and saw Neil Diamond or
Oh.
whatever it might be. And so I was telling that on a live one time, and someone said, well, do you think there's any songs for me? And okay, I gave her a song, and she said, oh, that was my grandpa's favorite song, and then it became a thing. So sometimes people come on and say, give me a musical mediumship, and I'll say sure, and I give them a song, and then they look up the lyrics and see how it applies to them, or sometimes they already know why that song came up for them. And so it's kind of a fun little game that we play. So that's another modality that sort of showed up.
I know that is so
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
And another, like, I've seen videos of you and your husband dancing on your boat,
Yep.
which I love. And I love that
Yeah.
you incorporate music because music and dancing, the body is moving and
Yeah.
it's very expressive, it's artistic, it's creative, and it's
Mm-hmm.
fun. And I feel like sometimes we just all as a group of people need to loosen up and be able to have fun. And your
Mm-hmm.
videos bring that out. Like it's okay to have fun. You don't have to be a professional dancer,
Heck
to
no.
yeah, it's like just have fun and embrace that. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's again one of those things where when we first got here on the boat, my husband was filming me. I was dancing around. We had music playing. We were doing something. And I was dancing around. He goes, "Let me film you doing that. It's cute." And I'm like, "Really?" And so he films me dancing around, and I posted it, and it went crazy. And I was like, "Oh, we're
It's
onto
so
something here."
cute.
And so yeah, we started doing it, and people love it. We have a separate channel actually. It's Deck Dancing on Instagram and on YouTube. So we have
I
them all
love it.
there if you want to see them. Yeah, and on some of the TikToks. So yeah, but that was just for fun, just to and the sunsets and sunrises here are so spectacular.
Mm.
We love sharing those with people in the background, and it often looks like we have a green screen behind us, but we absolutely do not. It's the real deal.
That's awesome.
If
Yeah.
anything, I feel like cameras don't often
Nope.
pick up the beauty.
Nope. They sure don't.
Yeah, because seeing it in person, I'll try to get video of sunrises,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks just so spectacular. But then when I get my camera out, I'm like, it doesn't look as good. I mean, it still
It
looks
mutes it.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
but
mutes the
it's
colors.
it
Yeah.
doesn't pick up that oomph.
Right. Right. I know. I know. Same thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh well. Well, I still try anyway, and you still can see that it's
Oh, it's still gorgeous.
fabulous.
It's
So it's
gorgeous.
yeah, it's
Yes.
worth it. Yeah.
Now,
So
with your, again, like the mediumship, your psychicness, how did this all come about for you? Were you a child?
yeah.
Did you always kind of have it or something happened? Or were you just like, I want to do this?
Well, when I was 3 years old and I lived in Ohio, my granny had an indoor pool, and I had a near-death experience. I drowned, and I had an out-of-body experience slash near-death experience. And after that, that's first time I was conscious of it. I started noticing spirits, and didn't know the difference between what I was seeing and real things. Like because I was 3, I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
able to verbalize very well. And at first, of course, my parents said, "Oh, she has an imaginary friend," which is really what most imaginary friends are. I think
Yeah.
it's kids are seeing spirit, and it scares people, so they go, "Oh no, it's your imagination." So now it's an imagination. So we talk ourselves out of it. Um, they didn't really try to talk me out of it. They just, "Oh, cute, she's talking to herself," or whatever. And then as I got older, it didn't really. It started to kind of actually get a little bit more intense for me, and I actually was seeing some scary things, probably because I was scared. As we
Mm.
talked about, I was inviting scary because I was scared. I didn't
Yeah.
get it,
Mm-hmm.
and my family, weren't. I wouldn't say they were religious in any way. It wasn't a religious thing. It was just, they weren't equipped to deal with that. They didn't understand what was going on. So they took me to doctors to see if, I had brain tumor, if I had mental illness, if I, had an allergy, what was going on? Why was I acting this way? Why was I screaming in the middle of the night or saying this person's going to die or, whatever I was doing or not sleeping, whatever. And they never really could figure it out. And they attributed it to a medication I'd taken at one point for a cold. But I think that just kind of triggered it, honestly, to make it worse. So down the road, I just stopped expressing what I was seeing and feeling. I just stopped because
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to the funny farm. I didn't want to upset anybody anymore. And I didn't want to be looked at as weird. So it was hard. I had to kind of, I hate to say it, suffer in silence for a lot of my life. And I became very doubtful of myself. And
Mm-hmm.
I really almost trusted myself in nothing,
Yeah.
which is ironic because I'm Miss Molly Knows.
Yeah.
And I always say, know that you know. And that was the huge part of the whole thing was accumulation of all that happened in my life, realizing a lot of it was just ignoring what I was feeling and seeing. So about 5 years ago, I was going through a lot of changes in my life. It was right around when COVID was just beginning, and it seemed like because again of that emotional energy that was happening, it started showing up in a way that I couldn't ignore it. Other people around me were seeing, as you asked earlier, about some paranormal things were happening around me, and I was starting to have some experiences and things. And so I finally started delving into it, and it just kind of blossomed from there, and I didn't know I was going to be. I had tarot cards for over 30 years. I never learned to read, and I just woke up one day and I knew how to read them. I don't know why, and that's kind of where it started.
That's
And
incredible.
yeah, that very day I went and bought cards, started looking at them, knew how to do it, started a channel on Instagram. And at that time, it wasn't Miss Molly Knows. I called it something else. And it just started to take off. And I said, okay, I guess I'm supposed to be doing this.
I love
Here I
that.
am.
And I love how you brought it because a lot of times when you hear about people who are psychic, it's like, oh, I was born with it. It's generational. It's in my family. And you hear a lot of people that don't talk about the self-doubt and
Yeah,
the
it's
shunning
huge.
of what's going on. And for myself personally, I was little and I saw things. And
Hmm.
for me, it was like this weird kind of white, hazy, kind of sparkly sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I would see that and I would talk to the trees and the rocks and,
Hmm. Hmm.
everything. And that was just that that's what made sense to me. But then
Right.
as you get older and you're told, well, that's not normal.
Mm-hmm.
And, even in school, and the teachers
Mm-hmm.
kind of look at you and you learn, like,
Right.
I should just stop talking
Right.
because
Right.
you don't want to get made fun of. And like people look at you weird. And I started, we have a store up here in New England called Newberry Comics.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just drawn to the Rider-Waite tarot deck display they had.
Mm-hmm.
And because you kind of like, for me, I buried it. It's like you forget about it.
Right. Right.
And like I had a ghost in my house and I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
stop it. Like it starts turning the fan on. And I'm like,
Right.
knock it off. Like
Right.
go do
Right.
the dishes for me or something if you go be useful.
Yeah. Do something helpful. Yeah.
But I was drawn to this tarot deck and I started reading tarot and the friends I was reading for would look at me like, how did you know that? And they got
Right.
really like almost like upset. Like, how
Yeah.
did I know that? And I'd be like, it's not me, it's the cards. I didn't do
Right.
anything.
Right.
And
Right.
it's so
Yeah.
hard because, I stopped for a long time. And just like I had to be in a very good relationship with my husband to finally get to the point of like, this is me. And I want to read my tarot deck. And I'm like, this is how I want to be because this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so hard because that self-doubt inside. And I think it's the programming that a lot of us are given to say like,
Right.
no, don't do that. Or that's not true. That's not right. That's not normal. And it's like you have to reprogram yourself to trust your instincts and to trust what you're getting. Because one of the things I always say is like police officers. Police officers are some of the most psychic people I know. They get that gut feeling inside, like, to like get in a different lane on the road or to stop and look into something or to get out of the way,
Yep.
whatever it is. And I'll say like, you are psychic. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
no, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like they don't want to admit it.
Well, and the irony of it all is, when I tell people what I do, and at first I wouldn't even, I was in the psychic closet, in the spiritual closet. I didn't want to say anything because, people always say crap.
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything. But now and I said this in my last interview, it cracks me up because they will say, I don't believe in that stuff. And then immediately tell me some crazy story about some anomaly that happened in their life that tells me they believe it. So it's kind of like deflection. It's like, I feel like the people that are vehemently against it, it's because they've had experiences. Every single time they'll go, oh, I don't believe that stuff. But there's one time. And I'm like, so why are you telling me the story? If it's meaningless to you, why would you even remember it?
Right.
Why would you even tell me the story?
Yeah.
Because they want the validation. They probably did tell somebody the story and the person said, that's crazy, that's silly. And that was the end of it. So, like I said, know that and the more that I stop trying to edit myself and question myself, the better my readings are, because it's those weird little details that really blow people's mind. It's one thing to say, like, your grandma says she loves you over there. You're so cute. She says you're doing a great job in life. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Or it's another thing to say, hey, I don't know why I'm seeing this, but I'm seeing a yellow Pokemon with a pirate hat on, that has a cigarette, like some weird thing like that. And they go, oh my gosh, my brother had that. He had a Pokemon he destroyed. And, like those kinds of things are the things that in the beginning I would brush off and think, why the heck, get out of here. Why is that thought coming? That's weird.
Because it makes no sense to us.
Those are the ones they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something where it's like, for when I've done readings and stuff, it's like, I don't think this is going to this doesn't make any sense, but I'm getting this. And they just look at me like, get out of here.
Those are the little details. Like before you were saying I'm a skeptic, which I am. And then it's those little details when people say that, it's like, okay, this person's for real. Like, you know what I mean? Because there's so many people out there that are just full of crap. But it's those little details, like the Pokemon with the cigarette, whatever. Those are the things that, now I believe you. Now it makes sense. Because how else would you know that? You know what I mean?
Right. Right. And that's the part that cracks me up. And I get frustrated sometimes. And again, my husband has to remind me, you're helping people. Don't get frustrated. You're helping people. But like sometimes people really don't understand how it works. So for example, I'll get requests to find an item and I give them what I saw and picked up. And then they look and they come back. I didn't find it. okay, you know what? I gave you what I got.
Yeah.
That's what I got. I
Yeah.
can't like call back and go, hey, by the way, whoever helped me find this thing, they didn't find it. Do you have any more clues? I
Yeah.
can't do
Right.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's what I got, and really it isn't up to me to look for it. All I'm doing is giving them a little boost. So
Yeah.
sometimes they don't understand how that works. It's not like, I've got some special like machine and I call spirits up and they tell me the answer. I have to work at it. And it's not.
Yeah. Now, do you find there are like, there's always going to be somebody who's ungrateful, but
Oh yeah.
do you find like it's surprising how many people do that, or is it not, even if they find what they're looking for, but do you find like there's more than enough like that, or is it just very few and far between?
I think it goes both ways
Mm.
depending on the situation. I have people that are beyond grateful. They write me a whole dissertation about the whole experience of whatever I help them with, which I love actually, because it helps me get better when I see where I did things right and didn't, maybe things weren't so clear or whatever.
Yeah.
The feedback's super important to me. So I have people that are amazing with the feedback and super generous with recommendation and even posting testimonials on that. I love. I do have some people that are extremely unappreciative, and I don't, I try not to highlight that. And again, I think it's because they don't really understand. They think I just like, I close my eyes, there's the answer, and I tell them. They don't understand the energy it takes for me to focus. Even if it takes me 3 seconds,
Yeah.
I'm still using a lot of energy to connect that way. Imagine trying to connect, like a phone line from here to New Zealand. It seems easy. You pick up a phone, you dial, and you're talking. But it's got to go through that long line
Yes.
or whatever satellite signal or whatever to get there. And since we don't experience, we think it's super simple, but it's very complicated. So I think that's the problem, is the lack of understanding. And I think the more that I do these podcasts and explain how I pick up things, the more people will start to listen and understand, the more grateful they'll be. So, I think it's one thing to say I want to be a doctor. It's another thing to go through medical school. It's
Exactly.
Right.
there's a lot goes there,
Absolutely, because I think some people don't realize the work, like just most people have to do with themselves. And
Yeah.
like you said, you
Yeah.
can't be in a negative space. And there's all this stuff that goes on for you to be able to do what you do, the work you've had to do on yourself. And they don't get it. And I look at it like, and that's okay, because that's them.
That's their journey.
Exactly. That's where our journeys are just intersecting for a moment, and then we move on. But I think that sometimes too, you always have the people who, I don't even want to call them skeptics, because I feel like they just twist things because they don't want to accept it or embrace it. But it's like, oh, if you're so psychic, why don't you win the lottery? It's like, that's not how it works. I wish it was. And
Sometimes it does.
And it may be, but for most
works.
people, it's kind of like, that, like for me, the information I get is sometimes so random. And I'm just like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Right. But it's also the idea that sometimes you think you want something, but maybe it's not right for you.
Yeah.
I mean, people, I want to win the lotto. Maybe you wouldn't know what to do if you won the lotto. Maybe it would be bad for you.
Exactly.
Or maybe there's a lot of other people who want the same exact thing you keep saying. So that you're in line at this point. You just have to wait.
Exactly.
There you go. Yeah.
Exactly. Again, I look at all of it for me. I say, what is my highest good?
Right.
And if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And, I'm very thankful for what I have. And that's kind of how we are in our family. But I just think that sometimes people, they don't want to accept it. So they twist things around. I have a friend who, with hypnotherapy, and she's a hypnotherapist, and this woman contacted her and was like, well, can I come to your house, because she lived locally? And my friend was like, I really don't do that. And she's like, okay, because she wants to help people. So she has this woman come to her house, and they do a session, and the woman was kind of blocking, letting a lot of stuff out. But my friend spent hours with this woman, and it was like pulling teeth, and she did the best she could. And afterwards, she's like, well, I didn't really get anything out of that. I want my money back.
Yeah, I've had that.
And so she ended up giving her money back, but she realized after, it was one of those, I didn't want to do it. Other people wanted me to do it, so I did it, so I could say I did it, even though I don't believe in it. I really don't care, and I didn't want anything from it. So, and it's too bad, because you're now wasting somebody's time just to prove a point to yourself, I guess.
Right. And I've actually become more discerning. If I don't want to read for somebody, I don't
Hmm.
anymore. If I get a feeling it's not going to be good, I'm
Yes.
usually right. I'm usually right. And
Yes.
so I've had people that try to tell me how I'm going to do the reading. I have a certain way I do it, and it's
Jeez.
different than others. And I've had people tell me, well, I only want to do it if you're going to do it this way. And I'm like, well, then guess what? I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But I can tell you somebody who does it that way,
Yeah.
because I'm not going to give them a good reading if I'm not comfortable.
Right.
It's not
Exactly.
just about them. This is an agreement we make between the two of us to do these readings. And if you can't agree to what I need, it's not just money. So
Exact.
I
And
agree.
I think that says a lot too about you and anyone else who's like that. It's like your inner knowing, your inner strength to say, I'm confident enough in what I do to say, like, this won't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have
And
to,
there's times it hasn't.
yeah, exactly. So I think that's really good because unfortunately, I think there are always going to be people, I don't even call them skeptics. They're just people who don't want to even think of admitting something as a possibility.
I think some people work against themselves.
Yes,
They're
I think,
afraid of success, or they're afraid of something they're not used to. So they
yeah.
they they make it more difficult for themselves. Like, one of the things that happens a lot on lives is people come in for advice, of course. And I'm not a therapist, but in a sense I'm a spiritual therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to be careful about what I say, because nobody's going to go into a therapist and have the therapist go, you go and your therapist go, I don't know, maybe I should leave my boyfriend. The therapist goes, yeah, you should. Bye. Like that, it doesn't work like that.
Right?
They're not going to do that. That's not their job. And so when people come in, oh, I want a yes no. Is my husband going to leave me? Is my friend going to pay me back? I don't do the yes no, because that's not useful, because things can change overnight.
Mm.
Circumstances can change. That's a
Sure.
50-50 chance I'm correct. It's better for me to say, well, what I see here is this is what's happening on your end of the thing, and here's what's happening on their end, and here's where you might try this. That's different than me going yes, no, yes, no, because I could do that all day. I mean, and that's,
Yeah.
to me, I don't look, for me, that's not my favorite thing. I don't like yes no questions. I like to more give them the tools to make their own decisions. But one of the things that happens a lot is people say something like, I'm in this relationship, and starts telling me, a few details, which I really rather not know. And I'll just say, you know what to do, you just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I've had to say that to myself. Like,
Yeah.
you know what to do, you just don't want to do it. And I'll say, you don't need a psychic to tell you this. You don't want to do what has to be done to change your situation. So
That happens a
there's
lot, be it like
there's no
hypnotherapy,
spiritual
tarot,
advice
anything.
other
Yeah.
than, yeah, just, you're going to have to make some changes.
Yeah.
Nothing from the other side is going to do it for you.
And
So yeah.
yeah, it's so funny because even like, talking with girlfriends or something, and it's so obvious, like, what you need to do, but it's
Right.
hard. And, doing hard things are hard. So it can be
But sometimes
scary.
just accepting that you know what to do. Just
Yeah.
saying, I know what I need to do, I'm not ready to do it. That's
Yeah.
okay too.
That's exactly.
Sometimes that's
Exactly.
all it takes, is just sitting with that for a while. Like, I don't know what to
Mm-hmm.
do. I'm just going to not do something for a while. Sometimes that's okay.
And that's a choice too, to not do something.
Right. Right. So there's not just, it's not just spiritual whatever I do. There's also some counseling involved, I guess,
Yeah.
in a sense.
Well, I
Uh,
I
you
think
know.
that's so true for anyone who does psychic readings, tarot readings, because obviously most people are coming to you because there's something going on
Right. And
and
the
they want
conventional means is
guidance.
not giving them what they need. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
they're looking for
absolutely.
guidance. And a lot of times in my experience, they're looking for somebody to confide in, to open up to, because if you're a tarot reader or psychic, a therapist, you're not going to be judgmental typically,
No,
like,
not at
and
all.
and
Yeah.
that gives comfort. And everyone
Yes.
goes through stuff, and I think it's wonderful that there are these alternative ways that people can
Mhm.
find that guidance and that comfort, because like you said, you can't just say yes or no,
Right.
but you can listen and you can get you can explain what you're getting, and you can guide and help. At the end of the day, they're the one who has to take that action. But
Right.
the fact that you're being there to hold their hand a little, to help them come to what they need to realize, or to, like I said, to guide them to where they're supposed to be going, maybe, it,
Right.
it's so helpful. And I think from, again, my experience, people feel less alone knowing
Right.
there's someone
Right.
else.
Right. When they know, I mean, you're not being watched all the time. It's not like the spiritual energies around us are standing there watching everything we do. And that's
Yeah.
also a thing that people don't understand. They're not a physical being, they're an energy. So
Yeah.
their ability to tune into you is when you need it, when you ask for it, or when they think you need it. They're not watching you have sexy time. They're not watching you use the toilet. And even if they were, it wouldn't register in the way that you think, because that's not their reality anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's a version of them. It's like I've said on a video. When you watch me on the camera doing my live streams, that's not really me. That's a version of me, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody's afraid of that. So when we're talking to spirits, it's just a version of that person. You don't have
Absolutely.
to be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Like
yeah,
this recording, by the time it comes out, it's not actually you,
right,
in that moment, because that's already, again, time's not linear and that's a whole other thing. But
right.
I
And
love
I could
that.
die between now and then,
Yeah.
and you still have my recording. And if people didn't
Yes.
know I passed away, they'd think I'm alive, and that's the reality.
Yes. But it's not like they can listen and start talking in on the conversation either, because it's
Right,
different.
right. So it's
Yes.
not two-way, but yeah, but it's interesting how it all works, and I think we are finding that they're acknowledging that science is more closely linked to spirituality, and,
Mm.
and Einstein knew that. He
Yeah.
was very much believed in God, and you don't have to call it God if you're not religious, it doesn't matter. But energy is real, and when we were talking about the connectivity, what I try to explain to people is, look, when you go into a restaurant and they have a smoking section, which we rarely see anymore, but
Mm.
or when they used to have smoking sections on the airplane, that doesn't mean that everybody else on the airplane is not breathing that smoke.
Mm-hmm.
The smoke doesn't just stop at that section and go, okay,
Right.
we're just gonna
Yeah.
stay right here. And it's the same with energy. Energy doesn't just have like a wall between you and the person standing next to you,
Yeah.
right? It's all particles that are all intermingling all the time.
Yes.
That's why you can smell somebody's perfume. It's coming off their body. It's coming to you. It's no
Exactly.
different. Yeah. So
And
you're smelling their thoughts. You're
yeah.
smelling their feelings.
And that is such a great
Well
analogy.
put. Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Because sometimes I feel like people they don't know how to comprehend things. So
Mm-hmm.
when you get a good analogy, it just helps it click and make sense. And even for the people who do get it, it's like, that's a good analogy because it's right. It makes sense.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, this has been such a wonderful conversation, Molly. First of all,
Indeed.
I want to thank you so much for your help with Kelly, our chicken, even though we weren't able
Anytime,
to
of
find
course.
her. And again, you freaking nailed the location. It was like, and again, I think because just by the time I heard from you and then like I read your message, it was
Yeah.
later. And then I go look and she obviously moved. But
Right.
you are so great at what you do, and you
Thank
do
you.
so much for people, especially on your social media and your live streams, just like people throwing stuff out there and
Yeah.
helping as much as you can. And you're just a wonderful soul, and I want to thank
Oh,
you
thank
so
you.
much for doing what you do.
Well, that's our purpose on this planet. I do have people ask me, what's our purpose? Is to help people with things that you love to do and that come naturally to you, whatever talents or abilities that you have. That is your job, the things you're passionate about, to share with other people. And you will help people, because not everybody has the same exact talent or abilities or dreams that you do. So follow those, be yourself, be authentic. And when you do that, your whole life starts to fall into place. And that's really how it went for me. I made a lot of bad mistakes, but I learned. Just be you, be who you are. Not everybody's going to like you. That's okay. The people that do
Yes,
will be there for you, and they
Right.
will help. So,
absolutely. Oh, I love
yeah,
that.
totally.
Molly,
Yeah,
can you tell everyone where people can find you?
certainly. My website is missmollyknows.com, all one word, all lowercase, no caps. So easy to remember: MISSMOLLYKNOWS. You can always contact me, find out things there. I definitely need to update, but you can still, get your basic information. All of my social medias are Miss Molly Knows. So Instagram, Facebook, even Linktree. What else do we have? TikTok. I don't use X.
Hmm.
And then you can also, if you're interested in finding a lost item, lives are better, in my opinion, to do that. But you can also email me at finderoflostitems@yahoo.com. I don't charge for it. I do ask that you follow me and that you post a testimonial and follow up when you find your item.
And I have one last question because it popped in my head. Do you ever have people who start singing "Good Golly, Miss Molly" to you?
Yeah, all the time. Oh, you mean spirit wise?
No, just in general. It's like because it's Miss Molly knows, and they're like, "Good golly, Miss Molly."
Yeah,
Now, does
certainly.
it get
Yeah,
annoying or do you love it?
it's kind of silly. Anytime you have a name that's in a song or on a product, I used to hear Molly McButter and Molly Hatchet and all those. You just kind of laugh because it's like they're trying to connect to you. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
you could get annoyed, but people are just trying to make a connection. That's all people are trying to relate. So when they do that, at least I know they know my name. That's cool. I'm cool with it. I
No.
think it's silly, but whatever. They smile when you say it. As
And
long as you're not doing it to be mean, it's all good.
yeah, and you just totally made me remember Molly McButter. It's like, oh my gosh, what a throwback. The things that we forget about.
Yeah, there was a polka show called Molly B's Polka Show. So I used to be called Molly B sometimes. And yeah, there's a lot.
Wow.
Jeez.
But I was named after the unsinkable Molly Brown. So I will take that proudly.
There you go. Well,
So,
I think you are just wonderful and fabulous. And Jen and Karen and I, were talking, we're like, you are a crow sister, because Jen and I, like, we talked about, like, we're crow sisters because
Yes.
the first episode I heard of hers was talking about the crows. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Love crows.
Yes. And it's so, like, you are a crow sister. So
Girl, you know it.
yes, I'm just getting one of us, the movie Freaks with the Gabba Gabba Hey, like one of us in my head.
Right.
But it's like, yep, one of us. But
One of us.
I want to thank you again so much. You are fabulous. You are wonderful listeners.
It was a pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I look forward to the next time we talk.
Yes, find Molly on social media. Go to her website, support her, and if she has helped you do that testimonial.
Yes, thank you. I love those. Those are my favorite.
Thank you.
Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Molly. This was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
That was a great conversation.
Yes, it was. She's so awesome. She's fun. And I feel like so many people, it's like you find how many different things that we all have in common in different ways. And like we said, we're all connected.
Yeah,
in one way or another.
Yeah, that's something I've felt that for a really long time, and so it was really cool to hear her say that as well. And I mean, I didn't really, again, when we have a lot of these conversations with people, sometimes I feel like I take a back seat to you guys because I'm just listening, and like everything that's happening, it's like I'm taking it all in and trying to internalize. It's like that was just so much like helpful, useful stuff that came out of there, and really some good advice that people can take to heart there too. Some of the things she was saying. So,
and she has great analogies.
Yes. Yeah. So, and just like a really great, like when she told the story, I said it during the interview, but when she was telling the story about the orbs and everything and the singing and stuff, it's like, that just made me happy.
Yes.
I just like got real happy, and I was like smiling.
Like in my
really awesome.
heart, it felt like my heart was opening and these hearts and rainbows and flowers and butterflies were just like coming out.
Okay. I didn't have that, but
Okay.
I felt just happy and
Yes.
just joy. It was just like, wow. Yeah. That's like, it was really cool.
I was smiling so much
Yeah.
speaking with her that my face hurt.
Yeah. She was a pleasant personality,
Yes,
a
and she's
pleasant
fun.
conversation. And yes, a lot of fun. The fact she lives on a boat, that's so
I
awesome.
know.
That's so cool. And yeah, you could kind of hear like the
waves
in
and
the
everything
background
and
and
the
stuff. It was
breeze.
really cool. Yeah. It's really
Yes.
cool. Really cool. So that was a lot of fun. We hope everybody else enjoyed it as well. But yeah, any closing thoughts?
Check out Miss Molly Knows. Go to her website. Find her on social media. I follow her. I don't have Instagram, but I am now on TikTok. So go find her on TikTok. She is the founder of Lost Items. So if you're missing something, reach out to her. Maybe she can help you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, like we said during the interview about how we lost our chicken and everything. Like I don't think we mentioned it during the interview, but like where we went out to where she was talking about, we did find feathers.
Mm-hmm.
So we know the chicken was there. So it's like, it's not just one of those, like, because did we tell the story on the podcast about how we lost it? I don't know. But anyway, we lost a chicken and
it was weird because like, she just like, all the chickens, she just went off like in the woods.
Just
I don't
took
know,
off on her
something
own.
scared her.
Yeah,
it was
weird.
just very weird.
because they typically don't do that.
They usually stay
stay
together or have
so-
a buddy system.
Yeah, so we had a little straggler who got lost, got away, and we all our whole family was out looking for her, and we all swear we heard her clucking away somewhere in the woods, and we tried finding her. We couldn't find her, and then you got in touch with Molly, who what's that called? That she drew a picture. What's that
Yeah,
called?
it
What's that
was-
method called? I forget. You mentioned it
I'm blanking on it now, but she uses both hands and she draws, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah, she like sketched out something that she was seeing, and it was like, yeah, we saw that.
Yeah.
We saw that exactly what she sketched out in the woods, and yeah, like close by is where we found the feathers of our chicken Kelly, like, and it was obviously her feathers. It was her same color and everything, and it's like you could tell they were freshly, like she got caught up in some brush or whatever. But yeah, so anyway, I don't think we mentioned that in the interview, but we found feathers, like, so we know she was there.
And
so
like, where she was saying like that area. So she was spot on. And that's the thing, especially when you're with like an animal that is moving, it's sometimes hard. But like I said before, just knowing like us hearing what we heard, it wasn't just us wanting it to be that and maybe being something else. Like she was out there.
Yeah.
So, and that brings comfort too. Even though we didn't find her, it did bring comfort for us.
What, knowing that
knowing
what
that
we
what
heard
we heard was right.
her,
we weren't just making it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, unfortunately, we didn't find her, but but yeah, Molly, we mentioned in the interview about me being a skeptic and stuff, but also like those little details. When you hear those little details, that's what makes you a believer, or that's what makes me a believer anyway. Because I'm a skeptic, because there's so many charlatans out there and so many people that are just con artists who take advantage of people and who prey on people who are vulnerable and who are in a position of hurt and who just want answers or whatever. And that's why I'm skeptical.
Yeah. And I don't think I said it on the show, but like she described our neighbor's house and his truck.
Yeah.
I mean, and I didn't tell her where I lived. And like she said, she didn't go on my social media. And I don't have my neighbor's house anyway on social media.
Our neighbor's too far away. You couldn't see it on any of our social media videos. So,
and for somebody to just get that spot on.
Yeah.
It was like, okay. Like, I mean, I knew like whatever she said, like I was taking it. I trust her. I trust Jen Holtz. But it's still really cool to be like, wow, like, yes, like she got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So very, very fascinating. Yeah. Just a great conversation, a fascinating person and fun person too.
Very
like
fun.
Just a real fun personality.
I want to go dancing with her.
Yes, there you go. Well, if we ever make it down her way, maybe we can go dancing on the boat.
Yes.
If she'd have us. We're just inviting ourselves now.
We're just inviting ourselves now. One day we're going to stop by and we're going to dance. And you're going to love it.
So again, thank you to Miss Molly. That was awesome. We appreciate it. And again, we hope everybody else enjoyed listening to it.
Yes.
And until next time, I am the Golden Greek Alex Arion. I've been joined, as always, by my beautiful, gorgeous, amazing wife, the lovely Monique.
And you've been listening to the Homewrecker podcast.
We love hearing from and interacting with our hearers and watchers. Feel free to reach out to us on Twitter
at HomewreckerPod.
You can also visit our website,
homewreckerpodcast.com,
where you can check out past episodes and pick up some Homewrecker podcast gear from our online store.
Also, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you're hearing or watching our show. That way you can be notified whenever a new episode drops. We're on all major podcasting platforms, and you can check out the video versions of our show at YouTube and Brighteon.
You can also find Monique in a few places online as well.
I'm on Twitter @_MoniqueGiselle_. If you're interested in a tarot reading, organite, incense, candles, and other cool things, you can go to my website, tarotbymonique.com. Or if you're interested in hypnotherapy, you can go to innerstandingshypnosis.com to schedule a free 20-minute consult. And follow me on Twitter @MoniquePCHT. And Alex, how can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter @TheAlexArion. And you can check out my website, AlexArionFitness.com.
And if that's too much to remember, we get it. That's why we put it all in our show notes.
Thanks for spending your time with us, and we appreciate all of your support.
We do. Thank you. We love you. Many people are unaware just how much hypnotherapy can help them, or think it's only to help lose weight or quit smoking. But there is so much more hypnotherapy can do. It can help with stress, anxiety, insomnia, phobias, performance enhancement, connecting with your spirit guides and higher self. You can even discover past lives and your life between lives. Heal traumas, break habits, find your deepest truth, or just have fun discovering who you really are, all from the comfort of your home. I'm Monique Pliakis. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I want to help you. Schedule a free consult by going to www.innerstandingshypnosis.com. That's INNERSTANDINGSHYPNOSIS.com. Understandings Hypnosis. Find your power and ignite your inner light.